Well, hi guys, and welcome to today's video. 10 things to consider before marrying a Filipina. Man, I'm gonna get in trouble for this one. Number one, you are not marrying one person. You are marrying grandma, grandpa, cousin. You are marrying the whole tribe when you marry a Filipina. Let's just say that it is the Western way, unfortunately. The Western way is bad, that there are these like one-on-one relationships where the family doesn't matter. And it's kind of disgraceful, and it kind of makes me sick that, you know, you have cousins and brothers and sisters that never talk to each other, and it's just ridiculous. And nobody supports each other in some of these families, and they may see each other at Christmas, or they may see each other every couple of years, but they don't bond, and they don't see each other in the Western world, and I think it's absolutely terrible. So, first point to remember is that when you're marrying a Filipina, yes, you're marrying her entire family, and that means that you all, at some point, maybe need to support their entire family. Don't get into the Western ways. There are some Westerners out there who, if their mother needs a cancer treatment or something, they're not even going to raise an eyebrow or throw a dollar or a peso in her direction. Don't be like that. That's sickening. It really is, guys. You are a family, and when you marry into a family, you help support the family no matter what, even if it makes you have a couple of hard times now and again. That's it. You're marrying into the family. Please consider that. If you don't want to marry into the family, then that's fine. Don't marry a Filipina. Now, especially for those who have never traveled to the Philippines before and know absolutely nothing about the Philippines, the Filipinos are very naturally beautiful people, and it's something that I can't work out, whether it's the Spanish influence or the Japanese influence or whatever happened in those islands. But yeah, they are naturally very beautiful people, and most guys would love it over there. And if you're single, I'd say go to the Philippines, go on vacation, and see who you meet over there, because they're very intelligent, very beautiful people. English is very widely spoken over there. So if you want to meet someone, so just go over there and just start meeting people and see what happens. And definitely, before you marry a Filipina, realize that you're marrying a naturally beautiful person. Another very important point is that they value marriage. Now, this is another thing where the West gets it really, really super wrong, I have to say. Is that in the West, everything is disposable. Your cell phone is disposable, your computer is disposable, your drink is disposable. Well, guess what? Your marriage is disposable in the West. Well, that's completely ass backwards and wrong. Why do you get married? Why? You get married because you intend to spend your life with the person, richer or poorer, goodness and health, and death do us part. Even beyond death, in many cases, you stay with the person. So this idea that in the West that marriage is disposable is just completely ass backwards, basically. You have people in the West that say, oh, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll just get a divorce. Well, there's no such thing as just get a divorce. A divorce will haunt you for the rest of your natural life. Trust me, and trust any guy that's been through a divorce will tell you exactly that. So in a Filipino relationship, the woman focuses on keeping the marriage alive and keeping the marriage functional. And that's awesome. They're not going to give up, and they're not going to quit just because times get hard. At the same time, you have to keep up the other side of the bargain and not quit if times get hard on your side as well, because times will get hard. There'll be situations where you'll lose your job, you'll have a crappy day, the dog will get sick, everything will go wrong on one particular day. That's not a reason because the sky's falling to get a divorce. When the sky's falling, you group together as one team and fix the situation together. You don't run away and hide and blame it on the other person. Yeah, the phone calls. Oh God. Especially if you're in the US, you will find that your Filipino wife is on the phone yelling in Ilocano or Tagalog or Bisaya or whatever it is at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning in a language you cannot completely understand about some real emotional conversation. And there is nothing worse than being woken up in the middle of a dream to someone yelling in Taglish or something about some drama that's occurring 10,000 miles away in the Philippines because grandma has forgot to take her medication or something. Yeah, it's going to happen. It sounds funny, but it's going to happen. You're going to be woken up in the middle of the night to weird conversations of people yelling on the cell phone. Deal with it, and you will learn to go back to sleep and maybe hit snooze on the alarm clock a few times, because the time difference is really gonna mess with you. And your wife may be able to deal with the time difference and stuff and stay up all night on phone calls with grandma, criticizing her about her medication and stuff. But you know what? Those of us who have jobs, yeah, it's a little more difficult. You have to deal with that. Understand you are marrying into a completely different culture, and the food is going to be completely off the scale compared to what you are used to. Yeah, don't be surprised if your wife brings home some dried fish heads, yum, from somewhere, or some balut, or some crazy concoction that looks like it's barely alive and you've never seen it before, and there is no way you are going to go near that thing or touch that or have any interaction with that form of food because the food looks absolutely yucky. Yeah, that's okay. It's a different culture, and accept that. Accept that there are some foods in their culture which you are not going to go anywhere near, and there's some foods you're going to try and hate, and there's some foods which you're going to try and like. But you have to remember, you're marrying into a completely different culture here, and when you marry into a completely different culture, you have to accept unusual food groups, shall we say, and cater to those food groups. So if she wants to eat stinky fish at 2 o'clock in the morning in the bed, guess what? Deal with it. It's just what happens. And if you have chicken feet in your freezer, guess what? You have chicken feet in your freezer. It's just that's the way things go. You have to adapt to the other person's culture and the other person's culture's food. If you're marrying a Filipino wife and you do not have a rice cooker in your house, or you not know how to make rice, I suggest you learn and you buy probably a couple of rice cookers right now in case the worst natural disaster could ever possibly occur. Yes, you now know it. The rice cooker breaking down. It has happened a few times to me. We've been through probably 5 or 6 rice cookers, and it's always good to have a spare sitting around somewhere ready to go, because if the rice cooker breaks down, you are going to be in drama hell for about 24 hours, or at least until you can get to Walmart and buy another rice cooker, okay? Yeah, and you're going to be eating rice with everything. But I have to say is that don't compare the US rice to the Philippine rice. No, the Philippine rice is beautiful. I could eat it all day. It has a wonderful texture. It has a wonderful flavor. The US rice, it's just rice. It's just Western rice. It's nasty stuff. But the Philippine rice is completely different. But be prepared that you're going to have rice with every meal, and you have to have a working rice cooker all the time. That's just what comes with the culture change. The church, especially the Catholic Church, is going to be a big part of your life. Period. End of story, okay? The strange, funny thing is that when I was dating and I knew I wanted to meet another Filipina, I would search on dating sites Asian Catholics. That is the only way I could find Filipinos, because they're all Asian, obviously, and they're all Catholics. And the church is a very big part of their life, and you will know that if you go over there. Everybody goes to church on Sunday, and everybody respects the holy days, and they are truly holy days and the holidays over there. And Christmas is a big, massive deal. In fact, you will see people putting up their Christmas decorations months before Christmas shows up. Christmas is a big thing over there, and that's kind of the way it should be. But you have to understand that you need to be part of the religion too. It's going to be a very difficult relationship, shall we say. If you're an atheist and she's a Catholic, I don't think it's gonna work out too well. Maybe it'll work out, but you know what? It generally helps if you're in the same religion and you can go to the same church and have the same friends and not have all the friction of have a different religion, shall we say. So the church is going to be a big part of their lives and their culture, and accept that and live with it. And of course, who could forget the other religious experience, the other religion in the Philippines, Jollibee. Yeah, you're going to have to do with Jollibee. If you don't know what Jollibee is, look it up online. It's basically, it's like a weird version of Chick-fil-A that sells spaghetti with a giant B outside the restaurant. And the Filipinos go crazy over it, and especially in the US, they go crazy over it because, you know, in the US, there's a handful of Jollibee stores. You know, there's a couple here in this state, and there's a few in other states, but there's not too many around. You know, in the Philippines, there's a Jollibee on like every corner in every city. Basically, it's big. I think it's bigger than McDonald's over there. So over here, you know, it's a big deal going to Jollibee, and you know, they crave it and they drive, you know, 200, 300 miles to go to a restaurant. And I can understand it because it's a little piece of home, even if it isn't exactly the same as the restaurants they get over there. And there's a few changes between the countries, shall we say. I can understand. It's a little piece of home. They feel at home when they're there. So yeah, I can understand that. You are going to have to understand marit testing. What is marit testing? Marit testing is not something you do to your meat before you bake it or nothing. Marit testing is basically, you know, talking about this and that, striking up a conversation. It can be with a complete stranger, I believe. Marit testing is this one of these unique things where you just start talking to somebody about, you know, this, that, and the other, and you may like the person, you may know the person, you may never see the person ever again your whole entire life, but it's the process of just chit-chatting, striking up a conversation, talking to somebody, you know, so on and so forth. You know, that's marit testing. You know, you're gonna run into a lot of that, especially when you go to the Philippines and meet her family and everything. There's going to be a lot of talk back and forth, a lot of marit testing, and you're probably going to understand about 1% of it. I think the final thing to understand is Taglish. Oh, geez. So it actually makes Tagalog a little easier to understand in some ways. You can understand the general gist of the conversation because there's a shortage of words, shall we say, and they will break into English for portions of the conversation and then jump back into Tagalog for other portions of the conversation. So if you hear yak, 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 ATM, yak, 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 bank, you know, it's some kind of financial thing going on, basically. Or, you know, and also pick up on a few of the other words like asawa, which is husband or wife and stuff like that. That way you know if they're talking about you, and look at their eyes as well. And if they start looking your way and saying asawa and giggling all the time, you know you're in trouble over something. But you know, Taglish is one of those interesting things where basically it's a cross between Tagalog and English. There's a few English words thrown in there, and you can generally get the general idea of the conversation just by mapping out the English words and thinking, okay, this is what they're talking about because I've got this word, this word, this word, this word. Okay, yeah, kind of work out. Okay, they're talking about this, or they're talking about me, or I'm in trouble, or whatever. Through the Taglish, which is a combination of Tagalog or whatever language they're locally using, and English. And that brings me to the other point: is there's lots of local dialects over there in the Philippines, and some are probably pretty impossible to understand. So anyway, guys and girls, hope you like this video. Click down there, like, share and subscribe, and I'll talk to you again soon.